Good evening. Okay, so another upload here. Um, I'm still going for the 50 grand, right? But, I started to realize that I'm not putting systems in place to get to where I want to be. I talk about it a lot. I talk about wanting to be successful, wanting to have that future, and accomplish all these goals and do all these things. But I talk about it, but I don't take action. I don't have a strategy in place, nothing. So I started asking all these questions and kind of figuring out how I can maybe take action. I think one of the biggest things that has helped me is I'm completely off of every social media platform. Um, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the social media platforms out there that distract you from, what's really going on in society and in your life. And, I could go into more depth about that. I guess a conspiracy theory would be the bitten apple, right? I mean, the bitten apple on the back of the phone, because really what the devil wants to do is not control, right? Because he doesn't have as much power as God. He can't do all these things and force you to do all these things. But I believe that in his way, if he can distract you from all that, from finding God and finding the truth, then I think that he can keep you away from it, and that's what he wants, really, ultimately. So, conspiracy wise, the bitten apple on the cell phone by keeping you distracted, keeping you uninformed, keeping you sucked into this stupid device, right? So now my phone's really boring. It's really just phone calls, text messages, and stocks, right? So, but back to what I was saying. I mean, I find myself over here watching TikToks on my phone, scrolling, and I really noticed it when I was here I'm at school right now, and I was eating at the cafe because we have a cafe here where they provide us with food, and I guess provide us, but we get food, right? And I'm eating, and I look up from my cell phone, and for the first time in my life, I kind of felt not small, but I felt like I was becoming a sheep, right? I was becoming a follower. I didn't stand out in any way. I was there with my headphones in, plugged into my phone, eating my food, just mindlessly eating, just mindlessly eating and without a care in the world what was going on around me. For all I know, someone could have come in there with a gun or a knife, and taken everything hostage. But it killed me because I saw this and I look around and I see everybody else doing the same thing. I see everybody even sitting at tables. I would see people in relationships, a man and a woman sitting at a table, and both of them were just on their phone, just scrolling, like aimlessly scrolling, with no intent behind it, and it's not going to help them accomplish anything. And before, the phone and everything, or being so sucked into my phone, I would read and do all these things, and then I realized I just was falling away from that, and it was keeping me distracted. So I got rid of all the social media and everything, and I've started putting strategies in place. Instead of listening to YouTube or watching YouTube Shorts, watching Reddit, watching TikToks, whatever it is, I've now gone to podcasts, long form content. This isn't what I'm trying to create. I mean, I guess maybe in the future, but long form content, right? Something more educational. So today, I actually watched a podcast while in class this morning because, my teacher was talking about whatever my teacher was talking about. And I went on and I watched this podcast. It's called Wealthy Way Podcast. And I watched an episode called The Ultimate Guide to Getting Started in Real Estate, which, it stuck out to me because I want to do real estate. So I started asking a couple questions, listening to it, asking myself questions, and I wrote some stuff down, right? I wrote down the 5 methods for funding. And here are the five key methods, core methods. Private money lending. Okay, so friends, family, people that will give you money. Okay, that's option number one. Number two, credit cards. You can take out a line of credit at 0% interest for 12 to 18 months, right? So you could have enough technically money to make a down payment on a property. And then hard money lenders. So there are hard money lenders out there that will actually give you 80 to 90% of the properties. But I mean, I'm an idiot, so I don't really know too much about that stuff, to be honest with you. And I should probably research it more, and I will. But so three in one, private money lending and hard money lending, you can actually do something called the hybrid version of it, hybrid lending. And what this basically means is you can use hard money lending, and this they talk about this in the podcast. You can use the hard money lenders who will give you 80 to 90% to purchase the household or the home, and then you can use your friends and family to get the, if you're buying a $500,000 property, maybe somebody who has 50 grand who'll give you 50 grand. Or if it's just 150,000, you just need 1,500, the 10% down payment essentially, right? And then there's creative financing, number 4. And the 2 subcategories I wrote down here are, subject to investing, which basically just means utilizing the seller's loan. I don't know too much about that, but it's something I wrote down because it sparked my interest. And then obviously seller financing, right? If you don't know what seller financing is, it's basically when I sell you something, right? And I sell it to you, and then I say, hey, you just give me 40 grand, and then I'll kind of help you pay for the loans. And if you don't make the cut and you don't provide what I expect of you, right? Because you do the terms and you do the due diligence, and you come up with an agreed contract. And if you don't provide the contract, then they just keep the money you gave them, and then they take back their property. It's kind of like what the bank does, right? If you can't pay off the mortgage or pay off the car or pay off the loan, then they just take whatever it is that you were paying it on, right? And they'll just impound it. And essentially that's what seller financing is, but for the seller does it for you instead, right? So he can take it back if you mess up. So, and then to come to the 5th one, it was wholesaling, right? Wholesaling, this basically means when you own a house, you have a contract, and in that contract it states, I own this house, I pay X amount, I bought this house for 200,000. Okay, well, say I buy a house for 200,000, and then someone comes to me and goes, hey, I'll buy that off of you for 230,000. Okay, cool. So the owner of the house just made 30 grand. Cool, right? For the contract. Okay, now I'll take that and I'll resell it depending on how hot the deal of the household is, and I'll resell it for 260 grand hopefully, and then I make 30 grand, right? So it's a win-win-win essentially, but it's a way to flip houses, right? And take a fee for yourself. So those are the 5 creative ways. And so I talked to my dad, who's pretty invested into business, and he knows a thing or two, and he's actually done the real estate thing. It wasn't for him; he didn't like it, but he's been there and he's done it. And he said my best bet really was just the creative financing, the seller financing, right? And trying to find a way to use my FHA loan, right? Because I have not bought a household yet. I'm a first homeowners association loan, right? And I can use that at a low interest rate and get approved for about a $400,000 duplex, around 500, and the down payment doesn't have to be crucial or anything extreme, right? It just has to be around 5 grand, 5 to 10 grand, give or take, depends. But then that leads into, and they talk about all this stuff in the Wealthy Way podcast. Super cool, super insightful. Obviously I need more education. I haven't educated myself enough. But, if you do have an LLC, you can actually protect an established business credit, which is super cool, right? So business credit is it just looks better in the long term. If you're buying properties and you have business credit, you're most likely going to get approved for more money from the bank to buy more properties. And then you can also do, once attaining the business, you can take advantage using tax write-offs. So like if I wanted to go to some sort of event in Las Vegas and fly there and do all these things and educate myself in that aspect, then I can write it off as a business expense, and then it's basically paid for, right? It's a tax write-off, and I save money. And you can also do it to pay off your college too, which is super cool. A lot of insightful stuff here. And they broke it down in the video too. There's ways, because my goal is to get to 100K too, but specifically by 21, and I'm gonna do it. It's 3 years from now. I'm probably gonna have more. Actually, I will have more. So 100K. If you break the math down, 100K is 2 flipped houses that make about 50 grand each. So if I bought a house, I could flip it, make 50 grand, and then buy a house, fix it up, flip it again, make 100 grand, right? And then, the goal is to look for medium priced homes, 10% plus profit margins. That's what they talk about in the video. Great video. To reiterate, Wealthy Way Podcast, the ultimate guide to getting started in real estate is the title. And then there's 5 wholesales that make a $20,000 profit, right? Find deals, find buyers. And that when they said find deals, find buyers, it basically means you have to, and this is hard. I talked to my dad about this. He said it's not easy. It's a lot of grunt work and a lot of hands-on work, and you have to really apply yourself and go out there and find all these things, right? And then and find buyers, you have to create a network basically, right? You can use spreadsheet or whatever, and you can find a network, but you have to spend the money to go to the events, to find networks, to make the connections, and then to find people that will buy your property from you. So that's a pain in the ass to start with, right? So, I going to try to avoid that, and I'm probably going to avoid that with my FHA loan. And this brings me to 6 Airbnbs. If I own 6 Airbnbs, I could rent them out for 15K each, make around a $15,000 profit a month. 15,000, make about 100K, right? 6 properties, gross revenue 15,000, about 100K at the end of the year, right? Which is a great idea, but I don't have the money for that right now. I don't believe that I could go to the bank right now and get approved to buy 6 homes, right? I mean, I'm a broke college student, man, so, and then this brings me to the other thing that I wrote down that actually really caught my attention. It's the buy rental, right? That's the best way to make the 100K. If I can buy a quadplex, like I mentioned in the last video before this, and that's my goal, to buy the quadplex. I can live in one, get free living, and then rent out the other 3. And finding this quadplex is going to be, and I found this out today when I talked to my dad about it, is kind of the easy part. I obviously need to educate myself about more things in that aspect, but finding it's the easy part. The hard part is when I obtain it, I have to get people in that property as soon as possible. Because when I get approved for my FHA loan, and when I do all these things, they'll sign the title over to my name. They will hand over the keys that day, and as soon as they hand over the keys, after I've made the down payment and payment for it, after getting approved for my FHA loan, then I got to make the payments on those interest rates, and that's about $1,500 a month, right? So, and that's coming out of my pocket. The sweat I got to go through to pay $1,500 a month, right? A lot of people work a job, doesn't really pay that much minimum wage. You're making around 2,000, 1,500, 2,000 a month alone. So if I didn't eat, sleep, walked everywhere, I could get it done, right? And I'm going to get it done, but I need to get people in there as soon as possible. And that's the hard part. That's the part that I have to figure out and navigate towards and have a plan and strategy implemented in place. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up a document on my computer. Should have already had it pulled up, but I'm obviously not a genius here, okay? All right, I'm going to pull it up. Okay, so in this document, it's the first document I created because I'll do like some catch-up meetings with my dad because he knows things. And the first thing he had me do was create a 10-year vision board. And my dad right now is kind of like a big mentor for me in short form. I grew up with him. He's very business minded. He's an entrepreneur himself. He has a company and he knows a thing or two about business, right? He's in finance. And so we created this vision board, specifically me. He kind of guided me through it. But in this vision board, there's a 10-year box, a 5-year box, a 2-year box, and a 6-month box. And in this 10-year box, and he had me start at the 10-year box. And I know it's hard to visualize a 10-year point from now, but it's closer than you'd think, right? So where do I see myself in 10 years? Well, I'm starting this media. So I will probably have around 5 million views on a video or a couple videos. Well-known influencer, mentor to help others and lead them to success. That's kind of my goal, is just to help other people lead their faith, give you some insight, because nobody's ever really done content where because this is my goal. I'm going to literally show you my life, how I'm becoming successful, how I'm escaping, as the Rich Dad Poor Dad book says, the rat race, right? And I want to do this because I want to help other people and show you that there is another way to make money. You just have to want it, right? And you have to actually be willing to put in the work. So these videos that I'm going to be releasing every Thursday will basically do this. And then in that media box, it has $2 million annual management team to run my media to help me. And then in the real estate box from 10 years out, it's 200 doors, own 200 doors in Texas, Airbnbs, quadplexes, duplexes, basically multifamily and some homes, right? Make around 400,000 a month, 4.8 million a year. Be good, right? And I need to build the team around that as well. And then I want to go into buying businesses, right? I want to own some businesses. I want to implement strategies and I want to learn new things, right? Because I need things to distract me, because I find that if I'm not I wouldn't say distracted, but motivate me and keep me in line in a sense, then I find myself getting into more trouble, right? If I don't have something to occupy my time, I'll probably just end up, face first on 6th Street in Austin out with my buddies, right? And I've realized that I kind of need to take the time to myself and work on myself and learn a craft. And that also kind of brings me to I bought a book, The E-Myth Revisited. I was watching the Wealthy Way podcast and he was interviewing a guy who made $1 billion and who's worth $1 billion actually, and he owns a company that's worth near $1 billion. And the first book he was told to read by a mentor that he found that liked him was The E-Myth Revisited. The E-Myth Revisited: Why Most Businesses Don't Work and What to Do About It. And it's written by Michael E. Gerber. So I've been reading it. I've been super interested. I have had it for 2 days. I'm already on page, what, 40 something? And I also bought one of the most important book in the world, and it's God's book. And I've been trying to deepen my faith and be a better man and stray away from sin. And my life is changing every day, and I'm forever grateful for this. And I'll talk about that more in the future videos. But for right now, let's stay on topic. In my business box for the 10 years out, I want 5 cash flowing businesses, and I want to one day own a school of some sort and help people. Right? I mean, I'm just here to help. These businesses would be in the service-based industries, so maybe utilities. I personally enjoy fitness. I hit the gym very often. And from these businesses, I want 10 million net annual, and another team to manage that business. And then the 5-year box, it's just basically half of what the 10-year box is, right? Because if I'm 5 years in and halfway there, and I'm not at least halfway to being where I want to be in 10 years, then something's got to change, right? And then I have the 2-year box, which I kind of put a lot more thought into. Hopefully 500K subscribers, dedicated scheduling. I want to post every Thursday now, making some money, and then I want to post about 1 to 2 times a week. We'll see where it's at. And real estate, 45 doors. I want to own 45 doors, 1.08 million a year net, and have management in place, because the goal is to really ultimately own a business that's plug and play and where I can buy back my time, right? So I could basically have somebody manage my teams, manage my business, help me so that I can be a visionary for the business and implement new things and try to figure out and help other people, right? And I want to take care of my people. I want to take care of them, right? I basically want to build a small empire and take care of all the people within that empire and that community and look after them and help them, right? And I want to do that by leading through faith. That's the most important thing to me. My core values, I will never shift. I will never, obviously I'm sure in the future my faith will be tested, but that is my core values. That is my rock, the Bible, God, my faith, right? And then, by the 2-year mark, I want to have 2 cash flowing businesses, right? So this is where it brings me down to month 6 month box, which is tedious, right? And I got rid of the business part for the 6 months, right? Because right now I need to focus on one thing, and I need to set my eyes on it, and I need to take action on it. And that one thing is real estate. Okay, so what about real estate, right? I mean, really, what do I know? I'm just an idiot college kid student. No, I mean, I know a couple things, but I want to have my first property below my belt by 6 months from now, right? So how do I do that? Well, I need to network. I need to build a team. I recently built something called a Rolodex. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's back in the day they would have these boxes, and you could kind of funnel through them and flip through them, and it would just have business cards in it, right, with people's information. So the Rolodex is, I have one for real estate, one for marketing, one for media. So when I meet people in those networking areas in media and real estate, say I meet somebody who's really good with real estate. Well, what's your name? Oh, well, my name's so and so, John Doe, right? And so I write down John Doe, I write down his email address, I write down his number, and then, I make a good connection. I'm a personable human being. I talk to him and I'm honest with him, and I shake his hand and I look him in the eye and I speak with confidence, and, we gain a mutual understanding of respect and hopefully a friendship out of it. And so I want to build this Rolodex so that in the future, when I'm doing business where I meet somebody of higher standings than me, I could say, how are you, sir? What can I do for you? And how can we do business? And, what if he says, well, right now I really need somebody who could help me solve X problem. Give me 1 second. Pull up my spreadsheet, go through my Rolodex, okay, I got John Doe here. He specializes in X. Here's his phone number. Here's his email. Call him tomorrow. He'll answer. Send him a text. Tell him Tyler sent you, and he'll help you with whatever you need help with, or he'll know somebody that can help you. And then that creates even more trust and mutual understanding. And then I have that connection that I can go and put in my Rolodex and say, hey, I helped this guy out. He owes me one, right? He owes me a favor. Okay. So that's the 6 month right now. I build the Rolodex and the network and get my first property below my belt. Okay, so how can I get the first property below my belt? Day 0 to 6 months. So task to execute, because execution trumps all. Remember that. That is extremely important. Execution trumps all. You can talk about it, but if you're not executing, you're not going to accomplish anything. Okay, media company task list. This is just for the media, company formation, company agreement, consideration of partners, IP rights, disclosure, headers, NDAs. These are things to get my media started, right? Knowing people, branding, style guide, release calendar, right? What days I want to post, most likely Thursdays, maybe Tuesdays too. Um, Team network, create the list of what you need and who you need, build the strategies. And that brings me to the real estate investment, right? My content here is basically going to be me taking you on this path with me, and it's gonna slowly move out of my room because right now my room's pretty much boring. I don't spend a lot of time in here. I'm pretty much never home actually, even though I'm a college student, which is surprising. But my strategy for real estate is I came up with a thesis, right? I want to own 2 quadplexes in 2024 owned in San Antonio. Okay, 2 quadplexes. This will be interesting. All right, so marketing analysis. How? Find a good real estate agent in San Antonio. She will run an MLS report on all of San Antonio. So real estate agents actually have access to this beautiful thing called MLS, and basically they can just run up a report. I say, hey, look, I want a multifamily home here in the San Antonio, run an MLS, and it'll literally give them loads and loads of multifamily units, preferably seller financing if possible. If not, that's okay too, right? And then another thing I wanted to look into is HUDs, government housing. What I want to be, what kind of a landlord do I want to be? Do I want to be a low income, right? A medium income, or a high income? Okay, well, I completely scratched off high income off my list of being a landlord because if you've ever dealt with somebody who's, usually has a higher income, they're not exactly, let me choose my words very carefully. They're not exactly the most relaxed individuals. There's usually go, go, go. I need a new this, I need a new that, right? So if I own a high income property, then and I'm a landlord for high income properties, like take Westlake Austin, for example, higher income. That's in Austin, that's pretty much the highest income properties you can buy. Those people are always wanting a new fridge, a water filtration system, some reverse osmosis, something, something just out of the norm, something so weird. They want to blow a wall out and make something new. So it would be me spending my time helping this customer and being with them, which I don't mind at all, but it would be time consuming and it'd slowly kill me because patience is a virtue. And moving moving on, medium income. Right. I kind of want to work towards medium income because it's not going to be super crazy and always needing a new refrigerator, a new TV, or plumbing's bad for some reason. It's very mellow, very chill, very relaxed individuals, very nice people. Or do I want to be, a low income, which there's nothing wrong with. I'd gladly be a low income landlord. I want to help people out. Shoot. But the important question is, does it cash flow? Does the property fit me and does the property cash flow? And when I say cash flow, I mean 1% of purchase price minimum. Now, what is 1% of purchase price minimum? Okay, if I buy a property for $300,000, well, that means, well, what's 1% of 300,000? Well, I don't know. It's 3,000. Okay, it needs to cash flow at least 3,000 a month from the people who are living within the real estate. So that means that everybody living in my multifamily home should be paying, if it costs me 300,000, should be paying 1,000 a month in rent, right? And or if it's 4, it should be paying, well, let's see, 300,000 for around, $800, $700, 750, something. I don't know the exact number. Okay, so it has to cash flow first. And so how am I going to figure this out? Well, I'm going to make a cash flow analysis sheet here in the next couple days to figure out, after doing all the research on what kind of a landlord I want to be, I got to make a cash flow analysis. So it's going to be, if property costs X, what's the interest rate? If the interest rate is X, how much do I need to charge rent? If rent is X, how much am I cash flowing after paying interest rate at the end of the month, right? Because like I said earlier, it's coming out of my pocket, right? After I get those keys and I own the property, yay! That's the easy part. The hard part's getting those people in there and cash flowing the property. I need to cash flow the property, right? And why do I need to cash flow the property? Well, because if I buy a property, and I'm paying $1,500 a month on the property, right? Then, 1,500 a month, 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 That's coming out of my pocket. So that means one of two things. I got to work for these first couple months to get before I get people in there to pay it off out of my pocket. But once I get people in there, like I said, if it's a $300,000 property and it's making 3,000, well, I make the payment with the 1,500. Easy math. 1,500 half of 3,000. Then I get 1,500 cash flow from the property, so then I can either reinvest that into the property or save it on the side or use it for whatever needs I need to use it for, and then slowly accumulate the wealth, so slowly accumulate the cash. And now I've got a cash flowing property. Now I'm making money on the side. I'll feed it back into the property, help my tenants out, and be a good landlord. Plumbing, and I need to make that. That reminds me, I need to make friends with people who know somebody who can do a lawn, who knows somebody who can plumb, who knows somebody who does electricity, so I can take care of my tenants, because really that's what's important here. So it's got a cash flow, right? Otherwise, what's the point of buying it? So I gotta what property fits me, high income, low income, medium income, and then does it cash flow? And after that, I gotta integrate the strategy process. I need to learn. Not even after that, before actually. I need to learn things. And so I wrote down some things I need to learn here on my document. Know the positives, negatives, and what HUD is, right? The government housing that I talked about. And then what does it mean to be a landlord for HUD? What is HUD? Build relationships with bankers, right? Because if I need to get a loan from somebody, an FHA loan, then I need to know a banker who trusts me, who's willing to give me the money. I need to make friends with a banker, go get coffee, and build a mutual trust. And I'm not going to use Wells Fargo. I'm going to use local Texas banks, Plains Capital, Prosperity Bank. My dad knows a banker, who's actually an FHA broker. So hopefully she can help me. That'd be amazing. And then real estate, renter agents. I need to find people who will, obviously I gotta pay them, right? But they're gonna help me find a way to get tenants in that building as soon as possible. So I have to have a plan and a strategy going into buying my property. I can't just blindly go in there and take on 1,500 a month and just get, you know, just punched and knocked down and everything, which is bound to happen at some point, and I'm ready for it, right? My faith will be tested, my strength will be tested, my confidence will be tested, everything in life will be tested, and I'm okay with that, because I know that in the future, at some point in time, a test will hit me and something will come, and I'm going to pursue through it, regardless of what happens, right? Because I'm so driven by my faith and so struck to my core values. I'm not going to crumble under pressure, and I refuse. And I see myself living this life, and I envision it every day, and I want to take care of my family. I don't want my mom to have to work if she doesn't want to. I want to help her make more money. I want to help my siblings, my whole family as a whole. I want to bring them all together, right? Because as a man, it is key, it is imperative that we have, in upholding a standard, something to stick to, right? And if those are all out of whack, and people call those morals, if those are out of whack, then you're doomed, right? And as the man of a family, you are the frame. You hold your family to a standard, right? And you lead them. You are a leader. You're born to be a leader. It's what we do, right? And I'm not going to speak on the female perspective because I don't know it. My girlfriend and I talk about it because I'm curious, and she's a very beautiful, very kind, very bright, very smart woman, and I care about her, right? But having good morals, regardless of what you believe in, it all starts here. It really does. It all starts here. This is everything. This is truth. This is storytelling. This is step by step playbook, however you want to see it. That's what it is. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now. This is the steps I'm taking, the goals I'm doing. And I know this was a long video, but it's something that I want to talk to you about because I'm passionate about it. Obviously, I'm sitting here talking about it, but I want to take you on a journey with me. And if your attention span made you to the end of this video, well, then you're probably already on the right path, right? If you're able to sit here and watch a 30-minute video and break it down, then props to you, right? Because not a lot of people can do that anymore. Everyone's so fixed on getting their hit of dopamine, their next swipe. Like I said, in the cafeteria, just aimlessly, with no control. So, that concludes my video. That's where I'm at. So in the next 6 months, I got to figure out a way to make these things happen, educate myself, read my book. I'm going to finish it soon. study this and become the man I've always dreamed of becoming. So I'm gonna make it happen, and y'all are more than welcome to join me. You have access to the videos. Tag along.